This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Estes Park, Colorado. I'm here at Cheley, Colorado Camps. Since 1921, they have provided a window of opportunity every summer for young people who have visited them from across the globe. I'm here with Brooke and Jeff. Thanks so much for joining us here today. Let's start off, first of all, Jeff, you are the executive director out here. Give me a little bit of background about this family-owned and operated organization and how you got involved.
So my sister and I are the fourth generation of our family to operate Cheley Camps. It was started in 1921 by our great-grandfather, Frank Cheley, and we actually were started on the shores of Bear Lake in Rocky Mountain National Park. And then after about 3 or 4 years, the family lore is that it started getting too busy at Bear Lake. There were 3 or 4 cars a day that were pulling up, and so he purchased this property in 1925. I came back to Cheley in 1999, and Brooke came back full-time in 1997. So this will be 20 years and 22 years for her back at Cheley. So
you guys have been doing this for some time. We're talking about a father, third generation, who really has dedicated his life to the Cheley Camps, dedicated to the camping industry, really. This is family-owned. It's operated. It's something that really sounds like it has to be in your blood. I mean, you've got close to double digits of camping years here, that not only as a camper, but also as a leadership. Share with me a little bit. Is this something that the whole team, regardless of your family or not, pretty much you become the Cheley family?
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. With our families that come from generations, we have a lot of third generation or fourth generation campers that are here, as well as our staff. We have a great year-round team that's been with us for 13. We have 13 year-round staff people that have been with us for a long time. So yes, they're part of our family as well.
Everyone part of the family. I mean, literally thousands of youth have visited here since the 1920s. We're talking about a century coming up here. People have come here. It has been said that it's basically, it's an experience that can change you. I mean, what is it about leaving the city behind, leaving the hustle, bustle, the demands, the stresses, the expectations, really left behind and come up here to this beautiful area that can be life-changing? What is it that slows us down up here?
I think especially in this day and age, we always feel like the camp experience is more important now than even when our great-grandfather started it, with kids being constantly plugged into their devices and kind of have that motivation to get more likes on their social media and kind of not live authentically because they're just too focused on putting it on their social media. So I think just really slowing down, not having that expectation from going to here to there to sports to homework, and there's just a lot of pressures on children these days. So here they really can learn how to connect in a different way where they're not hiding behind their devices and really looking at each other in the eyes and getting to know each other and make really deep, meaningful friendships that last a lifetime. So I think that just the atmosphere slows them down. We have family-style meals where we sit and pass food around and talk about your day and use your table manners. And we eat on real Cheley china, so that's just in itself has them slow down.
This is a natural environment for connection,
Yes.
A place to connect. I mean, let's talk a little bit about the environment that you have created here, as well as nature has created. We're talking about lodges, log cabins that were probably, some of these were built back in the 20s when this began. I would probably safe to say that each one of them has a story with it. Maybe a tradition with it. Or all the structures here kind of play a part when it comes to experiencing it?
We're proud of our facility. With being here since the 1920s on this property, these buildings were built back when craftsmanship was really important and people put their heart and soul into each building. And so our campers do have a connection with those different lodges, and you know, it's where they've spent their free time. It's where they've made these lifelong friends. It's where they've grown up. And so, yeah, there's a strong connection, and we're proud of the quality of our facilities. So it's a huge part of the the program. We kind of look at, this is the environment, this is the playground that allows us to deliver on our mission.
Speaking of a playground, I mean, it's more than just indoor facilities. We're talking about outdoor here, 5 riding ranges, 146 horses. I mean, so you're not only connecting with those around you, but maybe even with some wildlife that you share the grounds with here.
Yes, we do. We have elk that you can see as you drive in, and we have bears, but they keep their distance, and there's just the birds and the hummingbirds and everything. And then our playground is all right here, but we're also, our backyard is the Rocky Mountain National Park and the forest. And so on any given day, we have kids that are rafting the Poudre River. They're doing stand-up paddleboarding on the Union Reservoir in Longmont, and they're all over on any given day. So
I mean, like you mentioned before, Brooke, basically takes them away from their tablet. We're talking about a climbing wall, climbing slabs, basketball, gym, weight room, challenge courses, a fleet of bikes. I mean, this is exercise that your tablet is not going to get you, folks. This is really living an experienced life for a summer that probably you're not going to experience maybe in a lifetime.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things we focus on, Brooke started on some of the 21st century skills that we look at. You know, children are learning how to collaborate. There's so much talk now about these skills that employers are looking for and that people are looking, that children aren't learning in the classroom, but you learn how to collaborate when you go on a backpack. And if the 3 of us are going out together, I'm not carrying all of my stuff. You may be carrying the tent and the poles, and I'm carrying the stove and the food, and Brooke's got some of the food later in the week, and so we've got to work together, and we're all going to wake up and get the water boiling, and so we're going to have to rely on each other. We're going to have to work on our critical thinking. You've got to get to a point when you're on a hike. There's times where you get to a certain decision point where you have to take into consideration a lot of different factors. Did we leave on time? What's the weather look like? How strong's our group? And so you're bringing all those factors in, and you're learning how to make decisions by bringing all the information in. And going from there, rather than, you can't just pull out your phone and type into Google, should we keep going or turn back? So and then that connection, that ability to connect, as Brooke talked about, just the eye-to-eye, the deep conversations, the kind of sharing that, gosh, I really struggled today, or, I signed up for this hike and I'm kind of nervous about it, and, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it or not, but it's a...
You're talking about life skills, Jeff, that you're teaching them out here, exposing them to things that maybe they wouldn't have tried before. We're talking about a rifle range, an archery range, arts and crafts, pottery room. I mean, it's really a combination of, like you said, 21st century, old meets new, and yet at the same time something they can take out there and share with their family, but also, like you say, even in the workforce, bring to the plate something on a resume that maybe nobody else has before.
Absolutely. I think they're learning skills that they can take, and even back to high school, back to school when they're able to live on their own. I mean, we had a parent was up here last year and was doing some photographing, and we saw his son in the dining room, and he said, "My son just looks more comfortable in his own skin when he's up here." Which is, you can't really have a list of how do I do that. I think you give people the playground, you put them with a supportive environment, and then they learn that, I had some challenges and I dealt with them, and you know what? My shoulders are a little higher and I can, walk a little taller.
I mean, that's pretty exciting for you to hear something like that, when you hear a parent say something like that. This is a place where you get in touch with nature, but you also get in touch with your physical self. You're basically able to face some fears, rise to the challenge, basically learn to adapt, like you say, to nature and what the day is, meet new people. Is it really the experience that takes place over a certain period of time that kind of starts changing them, and they start realizing, wow, this is something I've never experienced?
It builds confidence in the children that come. We always say it's not going to be a perfect experience. You're going to have a rainy day, or a meal you may not love, or a counselor that may not be your favorite, and that's all part of it. Maybe getting through being homesick is part of really building the confidence that, hey, I can do this without my folks, and it it prepares them for when they go off to college.
This is a place that we're basically you experience. It's more than just facilities. It's an adventure. It's a place they can get out and hike, backpack, experience the Rocky Mountain peaks, experience maybe a lake they've never seen before. 60 plus adventures and trips. Do the youth, do they get to pick kind of what they want to do, or how does that work?
We have a free choice program, so they on every Sunday get to pick what they want for the upcoming week. So they can do an all-day ride or a hike, a half-day in-camp program, and then they can kind of decide if they really want to specialize in something. We have kids that will decide they want to hike, and they end up hiking 100 miles while they're here, and they do amazing things. They work up their stamina, so by the end of the term they can do Long's Peak or the Mummy Range, and they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning so that they can get up and down by those noon showers. So yes, they get to choose what they want to do. Now we do encourage them to challenge themselves. Sure. So if we have a camper that is spending every day in the craft shop and maybe at archery, we encourage them to get out, but it's challenge by choice. And then we have our high ropes course that we just built last year, and same thing, challenge by choice, making sure that they're comfortable with what they're doing.
I mean, this is something that you can experience some alone time, maybe get out, do a little fishing, yet at the same time, you're gonna be connected with people. You're going to find some friends possibly that can last a lifetime. I mean, you're a product of the campsite, if you will. Have you found yourself making friends that you basically have kept in touch with, or basically shared something that was quite unique?
Yeah, my camp friends are some of my best friends still to this day. And now that we're older and in the positions that we're in, one of our favorite things about this job is that we get to watch these kids grow up. They join us when they're 9 or 10 or 11, and they're with us for 7 to 10 years, and then a lot of them come back on our staff, so we get to watch them really full circle give back the experience that they were given, and then they end up to be on our leadership staff and a part of that team. So that's what is really amazing for us. Just they end up to be these really neat adults that accomplish really great things in the world and bring so much of their camp experience into their communities back home.
That is exciting. I mean, when I think about this is, we're talking about, these kids are definitely up and going by 7 a.m. By 7 p.m., they're sitting around a campfire, slowing things down, winding down, thinking about their day again. In terms of weeks, how many weeks does it take to experience all of this?
So we run a 27-day program. So campers are here for almost 4 weeks. Many of our campers, as Brooke said, come back year after year. We feel that the camp experience kind of grows on itself every year. So, your first year or two, you're kind of testing stuff out. You're making those friends. You're learning how to live away from your family, away from your friends back home. And as you get older, I think just developmentally, kids at 15, 16 are more interested in that brotherhood, that sisterhood, that bonding, whereas at 9, 10, it's more just kind of about the fun and being away from home. So we do see that, I think the true Cheley experience is a camper that's here for 4, 5, 6 years and grows and gets out of that comfort zone, and maybe they love hiking and they're like, I've got this hiking thing down pat, and then a stretch for them would be to get on a horse, or a stretch for them would be to go on a backpack, or a stretch would be to test themselves on a mountain bike. And so after multiple years, and then we have a leadership program, our campers in leadership training, and they take a couple more steps in their leadership journey. And then when they come back on staff, there's some really neat experiences that they're having that are totally different than an internship at a big company, in the city. They're having to make decisions and take care of other people.
4-week program. I mean, that gives you plenty of time to experience it all. What about those that are younger, maybe want to experience the quarter before camp? Tell me a little bit about that.
So we started this a couple of years ago, knowing that the summer is getting shorter, that to jump into the 27-day program is a big leap for families, and kind of building that trust with us. And so now we have our quarter before camp, which was started, the name comes from, it's a quarter of the term before they would come with us for 27 days, and it's also a horse brand, and it's for 7 to 8-year-olds as well as 9 to 10-year-olds, and so they can come and get a little taste of the experience for a week, and it's been great.
Most of the folks out there, the viewers out there, that we've just given them a taste, a glimpse of what possibly could happen here. I mean, I read the testimonials, I watch the video testimonials, yet at the end of the day, I'm left with a feeling that hard to put in words what really takes place here over a certain amount of time. I mean, this is, like you say, this is family owned and operated. You guys are 4th generation, your dad's 3rd generation. This was a dream of Frank. We're talking 100 years ago, where he wanted to help boys turn into men, and that's still the vision today. I mean, that's still what's happening out here. Is it continue to be rewarding for the both of you?
Absolutely. I mean, when you get that call or that email, we have a friend of mine that learned about camp through another friend, mutual friend of ours, and he the other day said it's the most important thing that we do for our daughter. It has the most impact. We see the most growth. You know, if we had to give up anything, this would be one of the last things. So, you know, when you have an impact on a friend of yours, child, daughter, son. We've both have lots of friends that have kids here, and when you hear something like that, and you know that you've had an impact, and that you're partnering with them to raise their children, and that they're seeing the impact on what we're doing, it does reinforce the work that we put in and the mission that we have. And you know, it helps during some of these long days in the summer where you start at 6:30 and at 10 you're still going. So
I can't imagine. I mean, I love the fact that you're providing an area where the kids are basically challenged, yet I can't imagine behind the scenes. And we come up the hill here, Brooke's talking to 2 or 3 people on the way up. She's doing a few things. We're going to pull her aside. It has to be exciting for you, like you say, being able to adapt. What you learned back at camp is helping you now to provide this environment for the youth. And so at the end of the day, it has to feel really good when you see those testimonials and you understand exactly where they're coming from.
Yeah, I think we take our job seriously of partnering with our parents to develop their children to be kind and competent adults. And that piece we truly, truly love. It's very rewarding to see them come here and maybe have a struggle or two and really get through it and succeed. And, you know, some of them are crying when they're here because when they first get here because they're homesick, and then they're crying because they have to leave at the end of the 27-day period. So I love that piece of it. And like I said earlier, just really watching them grow up and watching the family. It's always interesting to see the family dynamics. I think for the parents that are back home, they can kind of take advantage of having maybe the youngest child still back at home with them and enjoy some time with them. Or our families that have been with us for several years, that first summer, they might drive them in and say, okay, here they are, here's our number, make sure you call us. And then in the 5th year, they're like, we're off to France, and here is grandma's number if anything happens, because they build that trust with us and know that we take it seriously. But there is a lot that goes into our staff training process and our staff hiring process. We know at the end of the day that those are the people that make or break us. So a lot goes into that. We start that in September and go all the way to May, and we train the heck out of them. So by the end of staff training, they're so ready for the kids to be here. And we just make sure that they're really here for the right reasons, not just be in Colorado, but they're here to really develop kids. And we feel like we're not just in the business of youth development, we're in the business of people development. Sure. Even with our staff, some of them, it might be their first job, and we set them to a high standard that later we hear them say, gosh, just having this job has helped me with my teaching or any field that they go into. So
Jeff, you mentioned before that basically you see the youth are able to leave here and use some of these experiences, not only maybe in the workforce, but taking them back to their family life and whatnot. I mean, is this something that was started way back, this way of kind of a code of living, if you will?
Yeah, Frank really felt like he was building the leaders of the future. That was what his intent was for having kids here. And he wanted to create a really nurturing, loving, empowering community. And how he did that was by coming up with the code of living. And he didn't want to set the rules for people to live by. He wanted them to have some buy-in and them to think of it. So each term we have what's called the Code of Living, and we have 4 units for boys and 4 units for girls. And in each one of those units, the campers think of what they want their code to be, and it's 6 to 8 traits, and they get together and they brainstorm. And it's interesting to see the young kids are kind of honesty, integrity, and when you get to the teenagers, sometimes I have to look up the words that they're using, or they use carpe diem or these beautiful French words. And so it's interesting to see how it changes as kids get older, but they take it really seriously. They write it down. It's in their lodges, it's in their boathouses, on the back of their bunks. And then we have what's called our BK, which you may see in some pictures, and that's a sign that they're living by that code of living. And we see alumni years later that will pull it out of their wallet, or when we go to kids' houses in the off season, they'll have it up in their bedrooms, and they keep them from year to year and really try and live by that code outside of camp.
What a great skill to teach kids, because we don't learn that till later on, how important it is to crystallize our thinking, to put it down on paper, to actually realize that this is something we created, we decided that this is how you want to live. It's exciting to see not only the camp, but we're talking about a culture that that you're providing here for folks.
Well, I feel like one of the things we're good at is building culture. I mean, every year we have to build a culture with 210 staff during staff training, and then 450 to 500 campers show up for our first session, and you do have to kind of reignite and reinvigorate that culture. And the code of living is a huge part of that, because people do buy into that. And if we're doing a good job with that, every child feels like they had a part in that. So if the words respect, maybe there were 5 or 6 campers that kind of said something to the fact of respect. And so then everyone's bought in, rather than, if Frank had set up 6 traits in 1921, who knows if those traits would be relevant. But the traits that were created for the first term of 2019 are relevant to 2019 and what those children are thirsting for and yearning for, and the values that they want to strive to live up to.
That is an excellent story. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is their website. That's where it starts. You can check out the About page right there, chock full of information, because this is basically an organization that is rich in history. This was a dream of a man nearly a century ago to basically provide leadership qualities, challenge yourself, come out and learn what it feels like for your child to maybe step out without you and come back home more independent, caring and kind, understanding and respect for nature and for also their fellow man. You can check out the website. A lot of information there. The complete programs are there, how to apply also. You can also see the dates, and the rates are very transparent right there to find out what it takes to come out here and experience either a quarter before camp or the full 4-week experience. You can see it right there as well. But I would definitely have you check out the testimonials, see the video testimonials. You're going to see the passion in some of these kids' eyes that they've experienced something that there's no way they could experience back home. We're talking about formative experiences that nourish the body and spirit. That's basically the Cheley, Colorado camps. Great things happen when youth and mountains meet. This is Atencio with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.